Well, they say that this is just like driving a car, except that you should see me on the road when I'm not feeling the best. Would you believe we're coming live from the toy shop on the Kick, all brought to you by Excite Media? This is Andrew Pitchford. And I've got to tell you, been an exciting week because last week, just around the time that we did the first edition of the Kick, we found out that one of the family members had tested positive for COVID. So we've been right in the thick of it. Various family members going through different stages of finding out exactly what it is to have. I'm pretty certain it's the Omicron version. So we've had the fevers, we've had the sniffles, the aches, and everything else. It comes with a full package, but we seem to be coming out the other side now. Now it's a case of working out who goes back to work when. But at the moment, we can work remotely, and that's what we're doing with the Kick. Now, the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're actually bringing to you some of the great websites that we created in 2021. It's a bit of a year in review. And why are we looking at that? Well, we really feel that during the pandemic, what Excite Media has brought to a lot of business owners has been our expertise in helping reshape their messaging, bring new life to their old websites or getting them pivoted online. And all of that has come through the work of a great team of people, everybody from copywriters, designers, and led by project managers who coordinate the service with our clients. And today, we're going to be catching up with one of the longest standing members of the Excite Media team, Matt Green, and get a sense of what he's been going through and some of his favorite websites. So stay with us. Next 2 or 3 weeks, some great websites to have a look at. And if you do want to make an inquiry and find out a little bit more about how you can get your website updated, then of course visit us at excitemedia.com.au or reach out to us on the social channels. Now, speaking of the social channels, if you actually do comment on whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube where you're watching the Kick right now, then your comments can come into the show. We are live and we'll be able to put those comments on as we did last week when thanks to Jane Shakespeare who got involved in the show. All right, let's get rid of that, do a little bit of changing around because we're rearranging the furniture. Let's bring Matt Green in. Matt, thanks very much for joining us on the Kick. Great to have you along to find out a little bit more about the life of a project manager. And judging by that background, it looks like it's a pretty cruisy nightclub life. Have I got this right?
Thanks, Andrew. Hope you're feeling better, mate. You've had a rocky week. This is I'm so thankful I've got a space in my house that is my work from home area, but also my little music studio as well. So you said I've gone for the artistic look.
And this is kind of your main love, isn't it? If you've got the keyboards going, and recently even taking it into TikTok, that's where your heart is resonating.
Yeah, music has always been a big passion of mine. I've been playing ever since I can remember. 3.5 was apparently when my parents thought that we need to start him on some lessons. It's a massive passion of what I do, and just the current band that I'm in, we've been doing quite a lot of trying to build up with our releases on social media profiles because they're so important. But yeah, most recently a big push through TikTok, which we're finding is resulting in some pretty good results.
One thing I did want to ask you, and this is obviously the most important question of the whole interview, who is the greatest keyboardist of all time? And you and I may not agree on this one.
It's a very tricky question because there's a lot out there. I grew up being classically trained, so obviously there's a love for all the classical pianists of history. So in that world, I really like Chopin. But for more current day, sort of in your pop secular rock world, probably Billy Joel and Elton John would have to be the two vintage that are up there that are just ridiculous when it comes to tinkling the ivory, so to speak. So.
Yes, amazing. Boxer turned keyboardist. That's my favorite, Billy Joel. Hey, let's have a look at your music because you've been involved in bands over the years. You've toured the world, actually, and gone to various countries with groups. But right now, we were talking to Nathaniel Hubbard last week, and he mentioned the project that you and he have been working on. Tell us about Alder Falls and how that came about.
Yeah, well, I think as Nathaniel mentioned last week, we decided to kickstart that project off in early 2020, right when COVID was starting. So the perfect time, not really, to start a band when everything shut down. But we used 2020 to our advantage and spent that time in the studio writing and producing with our amazing producer, getting everything ready to go. Right, well, 2021's just around the corner. It's going to be different. Let's kick it off with releasing music and playing a bunch of gigs. Well, long story short, last year was very much the same. There was very little movement on the music scene, but we decided to push forward and release our music anyway, and just do it all for online releasing. And it was, yeah, it worked out really well. And we finally, luckily, got a gig right at the end of last year to actually launch our EP, which was a great relief to play a live show and dust off the cobwebs there. But it looks hopeful for this year with no restrictions or lockdowns in place. Hopefully a lot more gigs with our releases this year.
You notice that Matt has, as we said, taken the artistic look, that kind of slightly off-center, nice black Johnny Cash t-shirt working. And if you're going to be a musician, you've got to have that real kind of arty, moody look going. And doesn't he nail it here? I think Nathaniel's kind of, there's something in the distance, and I'm not sure if it's a McDonald's sign.
The art of music photography, where they're like, you're smiling too much, look serious, or look down, or look away, and you're like, really? But you've picked one of my favorites there. Thank you.
Well, if you do want to find out more about Matt and Nathaniel's work with Old Falls, probably the easiest way is to look them up on Instagram, and then there's links through to some of their music releases, and you can find out more. Becoming very popular out of Europe. You've had some great responses from some of the different Spotify channels and things. Is there a favorite that you've chosen out of the music that you've released so far?
We purposely waited to release a song with Fire. We thought that was the strongest. Whether that's my favorite, it's hard to know, because I was just blown away by what our producer was able to do. We had in our heads what we wanted to achieve with the sound and the direction, and he met that, but exceeded it quite a lot as well. Like, we were just completely blown away. So my actual favorite one that we've done is actually in the making now for release this year, and I think that's the whole idea, isn't it? You're supposed to hopefully
nice
you look back and get your new favorite every time you write something. So it's coming.
All right, let's have a talk about 2021, because it was an incredible year, as was 2020, when we're running 100 miles an hour creating new websites. And this is where your expertise comes in. If you want to know about what makes a difference to any online business, it is your Google reviews. And one of the things that you'll see, please feel free to look at the Excite Media Google reviews. You can see some of them that are highlighted on the homepage of our website at excitemedia.com.au. But the gentleman that I have with me, Matt Green, is the master of not only getting them for us, but he's one of the key reasons that we get such great reviews. You'll see his name mentioned so many times for the customer service that he gives his clients. Today, Matt, we're going to be talking about two of your favorites from 2021. Who should we start with?
I'm pretty keen to get into Kalki Moon.
Well, let's have a look. There you go. So Kalki Moon, this is actually an interesting story and website. It would be hard to find an Australian who hasn't come across a certain little rum company out of Bundaberg, or Bundaberg Rum. But there was a gentleman who was working with them, and this is Rick Prosser, who's gone out on his own. And I remember we were doing some consulting to the Bundaberg Regional Council, flying in and out of the Bundaberg airport to help with the work that we were doing. And we came across this little gin company who later came to see us. Ends up that Rick had actually left Bundaberg Rum and started his own gin company. Tell us about the journey of creating this new website. When did it begin for you, Matt?
I can't remember the exact month we kicked things off, but it was definitely in the second half of last year. And we were able to get it launched just for Christmas and New Year for him, which was good, because that's when with the borders opening, that was going to be an extremely busy time for him, both with his online sales because of all the Christmas gifts, but also with people actually heading up to Bundaberg to do tours through the distillery, which is becoming quite popular as well. So yeah, we kicked it off into the second half of last year, and really it's hard because you haven't got the old site to compare, but the old site had obviously been around for a number of years, and it was time for a refresh. But rather than do the, I guess, your textbook kind of, how do you put it in words, when it comes to the design, we wanted something that would just stood out that little bit more, bring those darker colors in to help his brand stand out. So as you can see, he's got quite a lot of colorful labels with his gin, but he also wanted just to make it really inviting and friendly looking as well, to say, look, we do really good tasting and quality gin, We want our website to reflect that and invite people to actually come up and not just buy our gin, but get a little bit more of our story as well. Because yeah, as you said, Andrew, he's got an amazing story with coming from being a master distiller at Bundaberg Rum. And I jumped at the chance because I love gin.
And just hold that up again, because that's a new release, and actually this is showing a partnership that they have working with the people who do the Bundaberg soft drinks, who are now helping them do the canning of their ready to drink ginger mule, and there's another one there which I think is apple raspberry and something gin, which is awesome. But we did want to tell a story, and this is Rick and Kylie Prosser, and I learned something that I didn't know. If they had wanted to start their own rum distillery, it would have taken years, because apparently you need very big distilling equipment, and it takes a while to actually get rum to that point. Whereas gin, they could start up much more quickly. And now they're available through all of these outlets, but they are essentially able to sell online themselves. And it's a beautiful website, Matt, just being able to go through and find out exactly, how does somebody start on a journey like that. And Rick's whole family are now involved in the process. Have you got some favorite aspects or what went into building this? The photography is gorgeous.
Yeah, I was going to say the photography made it easy. And that's one thing we find with a lot of websites that we do in businesses. There's really two roads you can take. One is you can use stock photography, but that can very quickly become that sort of stock standard look, a little bit almost cliche, so to speak. But they took the other route, and that was to invest in a really good photography session. So they had a photographer come, and as you can see, did the most amazing photos of not just their products, but their staff, in and around the distillery as well. And that just is like music to our designers' ears when they can do that, because it just makes that process so easy. So they did a very good job there. That would probably be the standout for me, which made this website look that extra bit better.
One of the things, if you're interested in gin and want to go to Kalki Moon, they have quite a range of everything from the gin itself to vodkas, liqueurs, and the premixes. Couple of things, when we were up there, this is my favorite, the Solstice. And what Rick does is that he actually soaks the gin in different types of barrels to get different flavors. So if you check out the Solstice range, that's really great. But also this one is becoming very popular, the Navy strength gin. So that might be an option for people if you're wanting to have a look at Kalki Moon. It is a gorgeous website. Congratulations. That was a great one to go for. But we're going to go down a little bit of a different track now. Tell us about the next project that we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, the next one was, again, one of my favorites from last year, right at the start of last year, when sort of everything was kind of going into, we're going into lockdown again. We knew that the borders were going to, stay shut for however long. We thought, well, okay, we've had to cancel personally trips to interstate to see family and friends. So we had the opportunity to buy a camper. So myself, my family, we bought a camper and thought, well, we really enjoy it. The kids love it. I've got a couple of kids that really love it, getting outdoors and running around. So we bought a camper, and just as we did that, we got the opportunity to do a new website for Gordon Country, which is an awesome camping ground in Queensland here, about 2.5 hours from Brisbane. And I actually put my hand up to say, please let me have this one. I'd love to manage it for a couple of reasons. One, I'd never been to Gordon Country at that point and really wanted to go. Two being the getting into camping and loving it because I had a camper. And three, I actually knew Sarah previously, one of the owners of the site. I knew her from a few years prior in a couple of business networking things that I had. So yeah, there's quite a few reasons for me to take it on, but yeah, I did enjoy the whole process because, again, great photography and wonderful people to work with. So,
and it's interesting how every website project we do reflects the character of that particular brand. Like the Kalki Moon one was, very sharp, great for a drink brand, that distilling look, etc. Whereas this is rustic, and at the same time, when you understand exactly how far away you're going, there's a bit of an idea from Excite Media in the middle of Brisbane, heading out to Gordon Country, and you're in the middle of the Glenrock State Forest, but it's the place to go if you do want to be involved in camping, glamping even, retreats, and a bit of four-wheel driving as well. So there's something for everybody.
And they do all their weddings and parties over there as well. I didn't get to see the barn in person, but if you look through the site, they've got a beautiful barn and lovely outdoor. You can do a walkthrough experience on the site. They do some wonderful weddings and everything there. But the other thing that jumped out to me as well, and I enjoyed it, we got to thankfully take a bunch of Excite campers there. They treated us to a long weekend there last year. I think it was over the Ekka weekend, maybe. Or maybe a bit earlier in the year, but we got to experience a couple of nights there. And one thing that was really good is there's absolutely no phone reception anywhere in that in the grounds of Gordon Country, which is a huge space. So it really is a great opportunity to really switch off and just, you're like, excellent, no one can contact me. I can't contact anybody. I'm not going to be distracted and be on my phone. I can be outdoors, really connecting with your family. You're in nature. It's wonderful. I really enjoyed it and want to get back there because it was such a great place.
It's definitely a website you should have a look through because it's such a big place to go to. Something for everybody. As you can see here, you don't need to rough it. You've got glamping, you've got powered and unpowered websites. There are retreat cabins available as well. They can do corporate and weddings. But one of the things that Gordon Country is renowned for as well is their four-wheel driving. Did any of the team get involved in a little bit of mud rolling?
No, we didn't. I remember it was quite wet when we did get there, so there was quite a bit of mud on the side of our cars by the time we left. But yeah, no four-wheel driving that time.
And if you're interested in actually doing some, this gives you an idea. This map is available on the website at Gordon Country, showing you exactly where some of the four-wheel drive tracks are. Now, this was quite a number of pages, coordinating the different accommodation side of things. How do you kind of just keep things moving along when you're coordinating so much content for a website like Gordon Country?
Yeah, there's a lot of pages on this site, and there was a lot more on their old site. So it was quite a bit of a mission to work out the best navigational, best structure to be able to put into this new website. That's why we work really well as a team, but also it was great with Sarah and her family because the relationship that we try and build is, you guys, look, you're the expert in your business, and you know exactly how it runs and how you want it to run and what works well. We've been doing this for years and years and years, and know from the website side of things and marketing angles of, you know, what works well from a navigational user experience side of things. So they were very good. They said, you guys are the experts. Basically tell us what you think is going to work best. And of course, we put the initial plans together. That would have been a bunch of team members, not just myself. With the project, there's myself, but we've also got amazing copywriters and designers and digital marketers that get involved through the process. So there's a bunch of everyone having their own specialty, getting involved at the right time. And thankfully, when we presented, you know, the initial structure going, I think this is the best way to be able to look at, you know, where you can stay, how you can stay, the types of accommodation, what you can do when you get here, the special events that we have. They said we nailed it. So that was, it was really good. They trusted us. They put their trust in us, and they got a really, really good outcome from it. So, yeah.
I guess in the role of a project manager, you're very much like the conductor of an orchestra, but sometimes you're like the air traffic controller. Which way do you like it to go?
Yeah, that's it. And you know, I've been doing this for quite a while. I think there's only about a month or something to go until I think I officially become furniture with hitting 10 years at Excite. But you know, I've had the opportunity to learn everything I have from being at this company. I wouldn't work anywhere else. But you know, sometimes it's like you've still got to put a step back and go, look, I'm a project manager. I'm not someone who specializes in digital marketing. So guys, can I call on the people that I know have more experience in that particular area? I definitely won't be picking up a design pen anytime soon either, because I can't even draw a stick figure. So we work really well together, and you know, it works good. I've got into a really good habit of going, look, we work together as a team, and we let everyone who's a specialist in their area have their moment to, you know, to make the site as best as it can be. So.
Matt, this has been really good and great to hear about the Old Falls project. Wish you well with that new teased single that we'll hear about in the future. And I want to get you back in probably in about a month to 6 weeks, and actually have a look at some of the other projects that you're working on. So we'll get you back on the kick in the near future.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Well, certainly there's a lot of team members who really know their stuff and put a lot of hard work into coordinating projects for clients. And they take a vested interest in getting a great outcome because it reflects on us as much as it's a part of the client's brand. And I hope you can see the great diversity of work when you look at Gordon Country and Kalki Moon. Well, I think we've really enjoyed getting to know some of what happened in 2021, and we'll be back with one of our other project managers looking at some of the projects they fell in love with next week.